Inflation is a general increase in the prices of goods and services. It affects everything from the cost of groceries to the price of a new car. Essentially, it means that the purchasing power of your money decreases over time. It means that your money buys less over time. For example, if you could buy a basket of groceries for $50 last year, this year the same basket might cost you $55 or more. Imagine you could buy a loaf of bread for $1 last year. This simple example helps illustrate how inflation works in everyday life. This year, the same loaf of bread costs $1.10. That's inflation. Over time, these small increases add up, making a significant impact on your budget. Inflation is a fact of life in most economies. It's a common phenomenon that affects everyone, from individuals to businesses and governments. It is usually a gradual process, but it can sometimes accelerate rapidly. For instance, during periods of economic instability or crisis, inflation rates can spike dramatically. There are many causes of inflation, but the most common is an increase in the money supply. When central banks print more money, it can lead to inflation if the increase in money supply outpaces economic growth. When there is more money in circulation, each dollar is worth less. This devaluation of currency means that prices for goods and services rise. This leads to higher prices for goods and services. As a result, consumers need to spend more money to buy the same items they used to purchase for less. Inflation can also be caused by supply chain disruptions, increased demand, and government policies. For example, if a natural disaster disrupts the supply of essential goods, prices can rise sharply. It's important to understand inflation because it can impact your finances. Knowing how inflation works can help you make better financial decisions, such as investing in assets that typically outpace inflation. When prices rise, your money doesn't go as far. This can be particularly challenging for people on fixed incomes as their purchasing power diminishes. This can make it difficult to afford the things you need and want. Planning and budgeting become crucial in an inflationary environment to ensure that you can maintain your standard of living. By understanding inflation, you can take steps to protect your financial future. This might include diversifying your investments, keeping an eye on interest rates, and staying informed about economic trends. Ultimately, being aware of inflation and its effects can help you make more informed choices, ensuring that you and your family can thrive even in times of economic uncertainty. Inflation is often called a hidden tax because it reduces the value of your money without you realizing it. Imagine you have a certain amount of money saved up and you feel secure about your financial future. When the government prints more money, it devalues the money already in circulation. This process is not always visible to the naked eye, but its effects are felt over time. Think of it like this: you have a dollar and it represents a share of all the goods and services available in the economy. This dollar can buy you a certain amount of goods and services today. When the government prints more money, it's like adding more shares to the economy without adding more goods and services. This means that each dollar now represents a smaller share of the total goods and services. This reduces the value of each share, including yours. Over time, you will notice that your dollar buys less and less. This hidden tax affects everyone, but it disproportionately affects people on fixed incomes, such as retirees. These individuals often rely on a fixed amount of money for their daily needs. This is because their income doesn't increase with inflation, so their purchasing power decreases over time. As prices for goods and services rise, their fixed income buys less and less. It also affects savers as the value of their savings erodes over time. People who have diligently saved money for the future find that their savings lose value, making it harder to achieve their financial goals. Inflation can also impact families trying to budget for everyday expenses. As prices rise, the cost of living increases, making it more challenging to make ends meet. Even investments can be affected. While some investments may keep pace with inflation, others may not, leading to a decrease in the real value of your investment returns. Understanding inflation and its effects can help you make better financial decisions. By being aware of this hidden tax, you can take steps to protect your money and maintain your purchasing power over time. Imagine a printing press that prints money. If the government keeps running that printing press, flooding the market with new money, what happens? The value of each individual dollar decreases. This is essentially what happens with inflation. The more money is printed, the less each dollar is worth. This is why it's important for central banks to manage the money supply carefully. When they print too much money, it can lead to inflation. In the past, many countries used the gold standard to back their currencies. This meant that the value of their currency was directly tied to the price of gold. The gold standard helped to keep inflation in check because it limited the amount of money that governments could print. However, the gold standard was abandoned by most countries in the 20th century. This gave governments more flexibility in managing their economies, but it also made it easier for them to inflate their currencies. Section 5. The effects of inflation on everyday life. Inflation affects everyone regardless of income level. It impacts your daily life in many ways, from the price of groceries to the cost of housing. When prices go up, it can put a strain on your budget. For example, if you're on a fixed income, such as Social Security, your income may not keep pace with inflation. This means that you have less money to spend on essential goods and services. Inflation can also make it more difficult to save for retirement or other financial goals. Section 6. Deflation, the opposite of inflation. Deflation is the opposite of inflation. It is a general decline in the prices of goods and services. While this might sound like a good thing, deflation can be just as harmful to the economy as inflation. When prices are falling, people tend to delay purchases, hoping that prices will fall even further. This can lead to a decrease in demand, which can lead to businesses laying off workers and further economic decline. Section 7. Hyperinflation, an extreme case. Hyperinflation is a very rapid and excessive form of inflation. It is often caused by a government printing massive amounts of money to finance its spending. Hyperinflation can be devastating to an economy, as it can lead to a complete collapse of the currency. One of the most famous examples of hyperinflation occurred in Weimar Germany after World War I. The German government printed trillions of marks in an attempt to pay off its war debts and reparations. This led to hyperinflation so severe that people needed wheelbarrows full of money to buy a loaf of bread. Section 8. Inflation and investments, real estate. Real estate is often considered a good hedge against inflation because the value of real estate tends to rise over time. This is because the supply of land is limited while the demand for housing continues to grow. However, it's important to remember that real estate is not a guaranteed investment. The value of real estate can go down as well as up. Factors that can affect the value of real estate include interest rates, the economy, and local market conditions. Section 9. Inflation and investments, gold. Gold has been a store of value for centuries. Unlike paper money, gold cannot be printed by governments. This makes gold a good hedge against inflation because its value is not affected by government policies. When inflation is high, the purchasing power of paper money decreases. However, the purchasing power of gold tends to remain stable or even increase. This is because gold is a finite resource, and its value is determined by supply and demand. Section 10. Protecting your wealth from inflation. There are several things you can do to protect your wealth from inflation. Inflation can erode the purchasing power of your money over time, making it crucial to take proactive steps. These include investing in assets that tend to outperform inflation, such as stocks, which have historically provided higher returns over the long term. Real estate is another solid option, as property values tend to rise with inflation. Additionally, investing in precious metals like gold can provide a hedge against inflation. Consider investing in TIPS, which are Treasury inflation-protected securities. These bonds are designed to protect your investment from inflation. These bonds adjust their principal value based on the inflation rate, ensuring that your investment keeps pace with rising prices. Another important strategy is to negotiate for higher wages to keep pace with the rising cost of living. Regularly reviewing and adjusting your salary can help maintain your purchasing power. Reducing your debt, especially high-interest debt like credit card debt, is also crucial. High-interest debt can quickly become unmanageable in an inflationary environment. Living below your means and saving as much as you can is another effective way to protect your wealth. By cutting unnecessary expenses, you can build a financial cushion. By taking these steps, you can help to ensure that your money retains its value over time. Protecting your wealth from inflation requires a combination of smart investments, prudent financial management, and proactive planning. Section 11, Conclusion. Navigating the inflationary sea. Inflation is a complex issue that can significantly impact your financial well-being. Understanding what inflation is, how it works, and its potential effects is crucial for making informed financial decisions. Remember, inflation is like a hidden tax, silently eroding the value of your hard-earned money. By being proactive and adopting smart financial strategies, you can navigate the inflationary sea and protect your wealth for the future.